Once the pathway assessment is done, the owner's got a real true picture of their landscape, what needs attention, where are the gaps, and then we go to work on fixing those. And so then we enter into the membership model and we continue from there. The focus shifts because the behavioral piece is really pivotal because it always starts with the owner. We as owners can't live under the myth that we got it all together and all this stuff that's going on in our company that's unworkable is somebody else's problem. It's a reflection of our leadership. And so digging there first and seeing that, having those blind spots show up is so powerful. And then what it does is it now leads into different conversations, and now the culture starts to change, and then impact happens. And so we go from there.
Welcome in, everybody, to our first installment and first edition of the Freedom First Pathway podcast. Matt Derry with you from FFP, and an opportunity to really talk about what business owners are going through right now and what FFP is all about. And there's no better person to have on the first show than one of the co-founders of the company, Chris Cousins, with me today. Chris, great to see you.
Good to see you, man. Thank you.
We're doing this.
We are.
This is happening. It's amazing talking about what everything that you've done. We're going to get into that. But you have a whole history of working with business owners, mostly on the financial side. But we got to tell people right away just kind of what Freedom First Pathway is and how you got involved.
Yeah, so it brings together, it's an organization that brings together a number of different disciplines, and with the object of essentially what we'll get into, which is essentially reducing owner fragmentation in their lives. So business, personal, their whole direction. You know, these owners are on a journey, and we are here to get them to where they want to go.
Your background, wealth management, it's been that way for many, many years.
Yep.
What have you seen that is just different now than maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago with what owners are dealing with financially?
Well, there's so much more information out there than there used to be, right? We used to Google everything. Now we chat GPT everything.
Yeah.
Or Perplexity everything. So, yeah, so it's gotten to the point now where it's that concept that more information isn't necessarily better. And so it just leads to more and more confusion and fragmentation.
So Freedom First Pathway, the name, we've got to talk about that first and then dive into what it all means. But how did that come about?
Well, it came about because we anchored around the word freedom. We've talked about this for years in the wealth space when we incorporated the behavioral neuroscience component into it, because financial freedom is just money. It's this idea that personal freedom should be there along with the money, and so really freedom was just a natural way to express what we're doing.
Chris, it's interesting. Business owners, and you are one, often have a lot of different teams, whether it's the wealth management team, the CPAs, the attorneys. Yet, where do you see all this coordination kind of breaking down? And these are high quality advisors, right? But
for sure.
But there's just not that coordination or integration, is there?
No, there's not. And, you asked about the history of the kind of the industry itself, too. It's advisors today are so high quality. You used to have a lot of advisors in the field that really didn't know what they were doing, more salespeople. Today, it's different. So we start with the logic that an intelligent owner has the wisdom to surround themselves with good advisors. But these advisors are working in silos, right? And the silo is it's the existence of the industry itself. So the advice industry is just siloed because everyone has an expertise. And what's missing is the total completion of bringing all that together. And if I were to ask, or if someone were to ask me about my company, hey, what would it look like if you operated all of your departments in total silos? Would you guys get to where you wanted to go?
Yeah, of course not.
No. They intuitively know that, but now transfer that thought process to your whole life to include the business, but family life and everything, maintaining a focus of where you're going. It's just not happening because it's a void in the marketplace, essentially.
So this is kind of where FFP needed to come in, right? And there really isn't, you and I have had many discussions in the past about succession planning and owner readiness, but this is almost the next level and step, is it not? It
is, yeah. The exit planning industry, it's really nice how it's developed. Through organizations like the Exit Planning Institute, they have moved the needle significantly on the attention to this issue, because owner regret post-sale has historically been very high. And so that's being addressed. What's still missing is the full integration of the life of the family, of the owners, every decision they're making, because there's a lot of them. That integration is still missing because exit planning is still focused on as an event. And so we want to bring it to the top level and treat it as one journey, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. Chris Cousins with us here, episode 1 of the Freedom First Pathway podcast. Chris is one of the founders of this company. Give us background on the rest of the team and how it all came together.
Yeah, so, some would ask, is this a big leap from what you guys were doing before to creating something like this? And the reality is that the advice industry is very siloed, as we all know, and but in the wealth space, we've got about 30 years of experience of looking at things holistically, just from a money decision standpoint. And so for us, that was natural. We already knew that if you don't integrate money decisions and you pretend that they exist in a vacuum, you will exist with a lot of, right? We didn't use a fragmentation word back then, but we used lack of coordination and integration. It causes a massive amount of waste in those decisions. And so we knew that was missing. And then, the behavioral piece came along later, about 7 years ago. And that was taking the wealth piece to a new level, integrating who people are as people, as couples, and integrating that with their wealth strategy. So kind of continuing from there, is how this has developed.
And you're adding a law portion.
Correct. Now. Yes. So we've had some visionary individuals that have come across our paths. In the lawyer I've known for about 5 years, and so fully bringing this to a much higher level is the objective.
And I'm sorry, it sounds like this was kind of this necessary evolution to bring in all of these groups, but kind of lead at times with the neuroscience part, right? Because maybe not everybody is doing that or thinking about that. And you talk about it all the time about thinking about your thinking and how that's not something a lot of owners are doing right now,
no,
right?
They're not. No, because it's not natural. I don't, unless I was trained to do it, I'm not going to sit and think about my thinking.
Yeah.
And think, what am I doing? So
you're not sitting at dinner saying that?
No.
We are. That's an inside joke. But it's true, right? They don't think about it. Right? They don't think about it.
Exactly.
They almost think about it last, but it really comes first, doesn't it?
It does. Right. Because we're business owners, but first and foremost, we're human beings with families, right? Spouses, children, and that stuff matters, or the purpose of our life. I mean, that frankly matters way more than any business, but it doesn't get the attention the business does.
So this sets a framework for this integration that needs to happen, right? Mm-hmm. How does that work in terms of the FFP process?
Yeah, so it does require a process that's brings order to the chaos, right? So we have to have a process that assesses what's going on. So we do that first. That's the pathway assessment, and the coordinator runs that, and that's she has a law background, so she's well versed in all aspects of everything business. And once the pathway assessment is done, then we have a really true. The owner's got a real true picture of their landscape. What needs attention? Where are the gaps? And then we go to work on fixing those. And so then we enter into the membership model, and we continue from there. And the focus shifts because the behavioral piece is really pivotal because it always starts with the owner, right? We as owners can't live under the myth that we got it all together and all this stuff that's going on in our company that's unworkable is somebody else's problem. It's a reflection of our leadership. And so digging there first and seeing that and having those blind spots show up is so powerful. And then what it does is it now leads into different conversations, and now the culture starts to change, and then impact happens, and so we go from there.
That's great. And this is something that's kind of needed, but maybe not necessarily in the marketplace.
No.
Right?
Correct.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I think that it's just because the industry it's been an embedded silo industry for so long because the focus is on the expertise. Frankly, if I'm going to sell my company and I'm going to hire a phenomenal M&A attorney, I'm hoping they're focused on that and not asking me about my childhood.
Right. Yeah.
Or why do I think the way I do?
Right.
So it's things are transactional driven, they're document driven, they're getting business done driven, and in solving problems driven. So when we don't step back and actually look at the landscape, big picture, and say, where is this whole thing going, and who are these people that are leading these things? Where are they going?
Yeah.
And how do they see the world? If we don't pay attention to that, someone has to pay attention to that. Currently, really nobody does. And so it's going to always fall back to the silos, so that gap is there and it's going to be there. And we've decided to transform the thinking here.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I would say that the crew at Freedom First Pathway would not want to talk to somebody that goes, look, I'm getting out and it's going to be less than a year. Just I need a transaction. I've made my decision up. And if they want something quick, it's probably not the fit for FFP.
Well, I would say we would. So we believe, this is a sidetrack, but we believe owners are heroes. Okay, so if you think of them in the hero context, these individuals, these men and women, the businesses that we work with, they drive the U.S. economy. Their businesses put people's kids through college, right? So they are doing significant work. And if someone is coming to us and their time frame isn't long enough for us to really engage the whole process, we can still do that initial pathway assessment with them. The M&A attorneys will thank us. They'll thank us for that, because when we do refer them out to either an investment banker or M&A group, we're going to at least help them get clear on a few things before their some of their disruption that's going to happen disrupts the process. Yeah. And we've talked to M&A people about this all the time. Could you help us with that? Sure.
Right. We're the ones who would want to.
Yeah, and the reason I said, the reason I made the hero comment is because if we believe that these individuals are heroes and we're here to support them, then we've got to support them whatever that takes. It may not take our whole process, but we're certainly going to do the work we can and then get them on a path that works, but make sure that path actually works rather than just sending them back to the silo trap that lives out there.
Yeah.
If that,
You got to share this. You and I were talking off mic a while ago, and you were sharing a comment about, or just, you were having a conversation with an owner, and it was just, and that's what makes FFP kind of cool is we're not talking about everything that we're doing and hammering away at our process, but your conversation with this owner was like, hey, how are you doing in terms of, are you organized? What's going on with strategic things, both in your business, but also at home, and got them talking. Mm-hmm. That's a mindset shift that a lot of people can't get out of, right?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, there's many good advisors that realize the human side of it and they go there, right? Like the exit planning community's made tremendous progress in that, but still there's just gaps still missing, and fragmentation occurs. And when fragmentation occurs, outcomes are not as good as they could be. Yeah.
These owners are high performing. Chris mentioned before, and you said it. Just they're really good. They're driving the economy. Yet they kind of sabotage sometimes their own alignment. Aren't really realizing they're doing that. But these businesses are still doing well, Chris. How is that?
Yeah.
How is that happening?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they know what they're doing in their lane, right? They started it, or they saw an opportunity to create a new business, or they carried on a family business. So all of these owners they live in that swim lane and they can execute, obviously.
Yeah.
So I would say that owners have two things in common, or these individuals that we work with. They own, lead, or drive the success of companies, and they're human. And so that second part about them being human, human beings, when we are disrupted, when we have chaos in our brain because our brains work a certain way, no matter what level of success you've had, If your brain is disrupted, if you're having a little bit of overload from all that's going on, and especially with a lot of founder owners, the business is pretty much who you are. That will cause chaos unintentionally as time goes on. And there's a saying out there, it's a great book, The 3 Laws of Performance, that the first law is basically your behavior will be completely in line with how something occurs to you, right? So if the business occurs to me as part of my identity, and you're an exit planner, you're going to tell me how to exit from it?
Good luck. Right.
You might do it.
Yeah.
You might do it, and then I show up in the regret statistics 3 years from now, right? Because I sold the company. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do on the other side of it. And the interesting thing that we've learned from our behavioral team is that it's literally a physical attachment. So when that business is part of who I am, and now it's no longer in my life, part of who I am actually left, physically left my brain, and it's got to get made up somewhere. And so you start seeing bizarre behaviors like the person who never spent money on a car in their life. They just bought a $250,000 Porsche.
Well, they've got the money now. Right.
Right. But they didn't buy it just for the money. They bought it for potentially some other reason. And so we get into really helping them understand who they are, so that those disruptions that are going to come have less impact. And so then all the advisors can do their job better.
All right. There comes the softball that we've been asking for years, but I've got to do it because it's the first podcast. I'll do it how people say it to us, right? So what do you guys have, like therapists on your team? I'll let you answer that, right? You got to explain it. Well, we get that all the time.
My first question back would be, do you need a therapist? Right.
Exactly.
What problem is it you're trying to fix?
That's right.
So no, cognitive behavioral neuroscience. It's essentially coaching. It falls in the coaching realm, but it's not performance coaching. Performance coaching helps people perform better. What we're doing is actually helping people break free from the performance paradigm that exists in our society, so they can figure out who they actually are. And when they see themselves as they actually are, they can more easily separate themselves from this business that is eventually going to separate from them. But they'll actually become a better leader. There's all sorts of things that happen. Remember, their behavior is going to follow how things occur to them. So if they now occur to themselves differently, they are now behaving differently. And so we let them know, we start with a very simple assumption. We assume you have absolutely nothing wrong with you. You're whole and complete as you are.
Why do we do that?
Mr. or Mrs. Jones, you are whole and complete as you are. You're a good leader. You've got a great business here. You got a great family. Let's go through a journey to discover what's possible for you. And that's where the process goes.
So there's so much misalignment.
Yes.
Founder misalignment. So what early warning signs should these owners or founders be looking for?
I think, they may get to a point where they're, it's called cognitive overload. It's a very scientific term. There's different types of it. But it's where, kind of like your computer, when your computer doesn't have enough RAM and you got 18 windows open and AI running and all sorts of stuff, it starts freezing up and pausing, and it doesn't behave properly. So it's important to know that our brains do exactly the same thing, and that's called cognitive overload. When our RAM has been overloaded in our brain, we start behaving oddly. And so we'll see, in owners, when they go through this thought process and they start to digest or like defrag, and they start to kind of think about what they've been doing in their company, and they see the outcomes in their company, and some of them are undesirable, they'll actually start to see that they're actually causing it with their own behavior. And we can trace that behavior back to how they see the whole situation. And a lot of it is how they see themselves. And so when we can start focus on there, plus do all the very important strategic planning, right? And all the practitioner work that needs to be done and bring it together around that human, the impact is much more positive, much more positive.
I'm sure you hear this all the time. We're talking to Chris Cousins, first episode of the Freedom First Pathway podcast. It's a $10 to $20 million business owner that says, I love this. You guys are talking about aligning your life, wealth, and business all in one place. Integration, I'm all for it. But right now, I just need growth. Like, I'll call you guys in 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm sure you hear that.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, there's two situations that would show up there. They could have the mindset that you just described, which is they understand the concept of the integrating is important. There's others that say integration's not, I don't need to mess around with that. I just need to grow my company. And the reason I say this is because there's this thought that if we can outgrow our issues, right? Any issue we have, if we just grow the company, everything will get better. And what happens is complexity multiplies, right? Cash flow goes up, no doubt about it. But it also hides a lot of mistakes, excess cash flow. So we need to get back to the mindset of the individual. So when someone says to us, I get what you're doing here, I just want to grow the company, what we do encourage them to do is actually the same process that it takes to grow a great business. Set a vision, have a strategy, execute strong tactics, and follow through. Do that in your personal life and integrate them together. Why not do it at the same time? It doesn't take you any extra time. You're going to set a vision for the company anyway. Why don't you figure out who you really are and where you're going? Why don't you set a vision for yourself and for your family and integrate those two things together at the same time and then go? Because what'll happen is the money outcome might actually get better. Because the thing about blind spots is we can't see them. And so there'll be blind spots revealed along the way that will help someone see something totally different. And maybe they wanted to go from 10 to 20. What if 40 was possible? They're not seeing that. We'll help them see it. And so just do it all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not any extra work. Just integrate it.
It's got to be difficult. And you're a great example of this. You're owning a couple of companies here.
Yeah.
So you've had to go through it yourself.
Sure.
How much does that help in saying, all right, when we starting FFP up, man, this is great for me because I've been there. I've walked in the shoes where it's like, all right, from a leadership perspective, I've got to pull back and all of that. What have you learned over the last 5 to 10 years where you're like, man, I wish we had this concept for me when I took over,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've probably learned more in the last 6 months than I learned in the previous 3 years.
Yeah.
So, and that seems it's like that law that keeps multiplying. So learning and constantly is where it's at. And so owners that really have not intentionally set an objective to think about your own thinking, it's like gold. Yeah. And then when you have a team that actually helps you do that, because again, we can't see our own blind spots. So yeah, it's the mindset has helped me tremendously. It's helped my family. My kids have benefited from this whole thought process.
You share this with the team in terms of the entire team, or is it just the leadership team, or does everybody know like, hey, this is kind of what's going on and what direction we're headed? What kind of advice would you give to an owner about that?
You mean sharing it through the
entire team,
the mindset through their culture?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, owners intuitively know that their culture matters. Some of them, I think, sometimes think it's just, well, I got the culture I got. Well, yeah, you created it, so you can create something different if you like. But the culture, when it's very intentional, then you would want to have these ideas flowing through your organization. And so our team has large amounts of expertise helping owners address their, where are they at, what are they thinking, and help that get a lot more clarity. And then the next move there is to go to their leadership team.
Okay.
Because if we're going to have a thinking about our thinking party, let's all get involved in it, right?
Yeah.
And so we want a leadership team with blind spots being shown to them, just like the owner. But everything starts from the top. It's got to start at the top.
So we get to the end, and maybe you've worked with a client, and how long would you say the process is or the work with an owner client is for FFP, number one, and number two, what does this aligned success look like maybe at the very end?
So the first one, the time frame, the pathway assessment's designed to be a 60-day, 90-day process, pretty concise, and it's designed to be large capture, large, playback of what's going on in every area, and then what needs attention. And then after that, it's a kind of a monthly membership fee that's talked about in terms of what scope is needed here, and then you just kind of we put together a plan for the first year. That's a model that's been used in our practice groups, and so because it allows you to pivot, because priorities change.
Sure.
But I would say the people part of it, the neuroscience part of it is woven through the whole process, because to your point with the organization, we start with the owner clarity, then we move to leadership team clarity, and then we move to company clarity. And, individuals that scale companies know that you got to have complete cohesiveness there.
And for the owner, if they eventually do exit the business and sell it, this hopefully dealing with FFP and just having these conversations on this work will hopefully elevate as we always say, just the transferable value, which in the very end,
for sure.
Can't put a number on that, can you, Chris? Or maybe can you?
Well, you can, I think. In different areas, you can quantify it in, areas of multiple expansion, right? Profit expansion. I think it's important that owners understand that, think about it. If every January you have a decision to make, okay? So January 1st, am I going to sell the business right now? Or are we going to sell the business? Nope. Okay. So we're going to do the other thing we're supposed to do, which is build enterprise value.
Yeah.
That's it. So you spend the next 12 months with high impact activities, building enterprise value, building value to your customers and clients. And then you come around to January again, you go, do we want to sell now? Nope. So you just keep repeating it until eventually either something happens, a health issue, or there's a strategic plan to sell within a certain period of time.
Final thing, Chris, what did I miss anything? This is the maiden voyage of this podcast. So you tell me, what else is on your mind? What did I miss?
I just think that it's important to discuss and get out in the open that we're creating a conversation that is needed and that is talked around, but not really fully developed. Mm. And so it's a transformational conversation. This will transform the industry in our space. This idea, and we believe that that's our mission. That's what we should be doing, because again, we're here to help owners on their journey and get them to where they want to go. And we can see things they can't see because we understand the behavioral side of it and we understand the blind spots. So this is an important conversation about the industry, and we want to be movers in that, in that effort.
I love it. Chris, thanks so much for doing this. Great to see you as always, and congrats on being the first guest on the Freedom First Pathway podcast. Long time coming, by the way.
Exactly.
So awesome stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
There he is, Chris Cousins with me, Matt Derry. Again, first episode of the Freedom First Pathway podcast. Stay tuned. More to come on this podcast. We're going to have more information, whether it's on our YouTube page or wherever you get your podcasts, about future guests, including future members of the team and owners that tell their stories as well. And we want to hear all the things that they go through, and we'll do that right here on this FFP podcast. Thanks, everybody.